we're trying to figure out ultimately what is.
It's still a mystery as to why it took them. Hi, everyone. Ooh, this is nice. Jarrett's coming. He's having some computer issues, so I'll give him a minute. Oh, here he is. Here he is, Jarrett. Hi, let me
Hello.
fix this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How are you?
Yeah, it's a weird square. I'm good. How are you?
It is a weird square. It really is. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sue. Okay, so before we get started, Jarrett, I just came across something really crazy. Hi, Afton. And I want to pull it up. And it wasn't on our plan today, but I was chatting with someone on Twitter who actually, hey, Sal, who asked me for documents about the au pair case, the Juliana Magalis and Brendan Banfield case. And I was like, okay, this is what I have. They're really bare bone arrest warrants. And she's like, this is what I have. And I was like, wait, what? So I just want to pull this up because it kind of tells us what happens, like which we thought this was what happened, but I have some questions and I think you'll see really quick. Hey, Oasis. Hey, Sinead. All right.
So I haven't seen these yet. So this is a primetime crime live exclusive.
This is an exclusive. This is literally I just looked at these like 2 seconds ago and I was like, okay, what is happening? And like I said, I have questions. So pulling these up, there's two I need to grab on here. Can you do two at once? All right. Well, let me just put this up now and then I'll grab the other page right after. Okay. So I'm trying. Can you zoom in, Jarrett? Are you able to?
Yeah, I could kind of see it. Okay.
Yeah, so, it's weird, but I think the biggest thing for me, and I want to get the second page up because the second page is where I was a little bit confused.
So first, let's see what we're looking at right now. It's addressed to the probation and parole office. So this goes to Juliana's sentencing. So she's entered a plea to manslaughter. Her sentencing is pending her testimony in the case. So as part of that document, an official version of events, one that was adopted in all likelihood by Juliana, is contained in that document.
Okay. Yes. And this is what makes, okay, fine. Yep. So, since it's really small, I'll just go ahead and share this with you guys. I'll pull it up on my end. Basically, it says in August of 2022, Brendan Banfield began an extramarital relationship with Juliana Perez Malgalis. She was the Banfield employee who began working as an au pair, blah, blah, blah. In the fall of 2023, Brendan Banfield expressed to Perez Malgalis his desire to be rid of his wife, and soon thereafter began planning to kill his wife, as well as ultimately Joseph Ryan, the victim in this case. Brendan Banfield used a FetLife account, which, by the way, I learned is like a BDSM Facebook site, apparently. I got a little more info on that, so I thought that was interesting. Okay, so Brendan Banfield created the account and began communicating with other members on the site, including Joseph Ryan. It doesn't say that he created the account on Christine's behalf. Let me just point that out if you guys can see that. FetLife is a website frequented by users who engage in BDSM fantasies. Brendan Banfield settled on Joseph Ryan, the victim in this case, and lured him to the Banfield home. Joseph Ryan, likely believed that he was meeting Christine Banfield to have a consensual sexual encounter. I mean, maybe Brendan Banfield said, my wife is into this and she wants me to do this. That's not really clear. I don't know.
Well, okay. So none of this is, although it's set forth officially, none of this is new to us because we correctly speculated a lot.
Okay, yes, but wait, I have to get to the second page. But
okay, but just so we're clear, this is all still consistent that Brendan would have set up that site if they would have made phone contact, and maybe it was Juliana who spoke to Joseph Ryan on the phone.
Yes, it says that. It says he directed Magahea, sorry, I'm really wrecking her last name. I'm sorry, guys. To participate in a call with Joseph Ryan using the application Telegram. the last few days before the 24th. The call was to confirm details and that both parties were willing participants. At various points before the 24th, she expressed to Brendan Banfield that she didn't believe he would go through with this plan. And at other times, she told him she did not want to continue, but he said it was too late. Okay. We knew all this. You're right. So Brendan Banfield that morning gave her the firearm he purchased. And in the fall and in the winter of 2022, he taught her how to use it and fire it. And she was to call Christine Banfield's phone when she saw Joseph Ryan enter the house. And then she was to call Brendan Banfield saying there's a strange man in the house and that she was scared. She made both calls when she saw Joseph Ryan enter the Banfield home. Christine's phone went to voicemail because Brendan had turned her phone off, put it in the drawer, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So upon receiving Juliana's call, he called his wife's phone and that went to voicemail as he knew it would. He returned home. He collected Juliana and his child and entered his home with them through the basement. They left the child in the basement and went upstairs to the bedroom. He held his service weapon. Okay, this is where I have to switch because let me remove this. Okay. Because this is where I get a little confused. I'm trying. Sorry.
So we're at the moment of truth here. So Ryan's in the bedroom. Julianne and Brendan are in the house. Little girl's in the basement. Now's the moment of truth. He goes up and he confronts what he has set up to be. Okay, good.
Okay, but Jarrett, look at this. Look at the first line. The two entered the bedroom and Joseph Ryan was holding Christine Banfield down. So I speculated, pure speculation, that they told, or Christine, whoever it was, said, I'm going to pretend like I don't want you to do this. And I'm going to try to fight back. I'm going to act surprised. I guess if that was the case, my question would be, did Joseph Ryan really not see a difference between true terror and fear?
Well, here's what he did see. He was told she'd be there alone. He was told she'd be up in the bedroom. He was told to enter through an open door in all likelihood. He goes up, finds her there. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Joseph Ryan may not be splitting the atom. He's probably not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That's a bad pun for him.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
no pun.
This guy is probably a little glib. And so he goes up there. He's all fired up for this knife play that he's prearranged. So his role is to act violent. Her role in that is to be afraid and to act a victim. So essentially, she's doing exactly what he expected.
Damn. But Jarrett, do you know what I'm saying though? Maybe.
Yes. Oh, sure.
How good of an actress does he think she is? I mean, that would be insane.
But and that's where the guy's probably not that bright.
Well, yeah. So basically it says Joseph Ryan was holding her down. Brendan Banfield called out police officer and then shot Joseph Ryan in the head. Ryan fell away from Christine Banfield. Then Juliana called 911. And on the short call, Joseph can be heard moaning in the background. She ended the call at Brendan Banfield's request, clearly too soon. And then Brendan Banfield stabbed his wife. And then Juliana followed the rest of the plan at his urging. At one point, she went into the closet to the safe, opened it to retrieve the firearm already in her possession. She returned to the bedroom. She saw Joseph Ryan moving and she shot him. So then he died in the Banfield's bedroom that morning. And then minutes later, Brendan indicated he was ready, and then she called 911 again, and the two reported the offense as if Joseph Ryan was the intruder who stabbed Christine. And then Brendan went to the hospital with his wife, and Juliana went to the public safety headquarters with the police and the baby, or the child. So after being advised of her Miranda rights, Juliana admitted to shooting Joseph Ryan in the head while in the bedroom. And then in a subsequent interview, she provided a detailed account of the events that took place on February 24th, 2023, which corroborated evidence discovered by Fairfax County police detectives. Does that mean she told the truth? at first?
Yes. No. So she didn't tell the truth till the February 24th, 23. So.
Oh, wait. Sorry. In a subsequent interview that took place on October 25th, 2024, she provided a detailed account of
Yeah.
the
Okay. I'm
of the
sorry. I
events that
missed
took
that.
place.
Yes.
Yeah, but wait, but that's when she didn't get
That's
arrested.
right. Before she got her deal then. So she entered her
Okay.
plea agreement with them. So she
Yes.
probably negotiated a plea, told the truth, and then all of that is corroborated with the tech evidence, the phone call evidence,
Yes.
the 911 calls, and the blood spatter and the scene. So
Yeah.
my question is, well, not my question, my observation is, imagine the terror of Christine. She is attacked by a stranger in her room. That stranger is subdued. She may feel like she's trying to appreciate what's happening here. Let's assume Joseph Ryan didn't stab Christine. She's okay. She comes to, sees Juliana and Brandon. Brandon then starts stabbing her. I mean,
Yeah.
could you imagine?
No, I was just thinking she probably saw them walk in the bedroom and she's like, I'm saved. Thank goodness they're here.
Right.
I cannot imagine. And just a side note, I saw that it was Sheila's birthday. Happy birthday, beautiful. I know that's a weird segue after talking about, this horrific case, but happy birthday. Hope you have the best day ever. We love having you in the chat all the time, and you're so much fun. So thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yes. But anyway, I wanted to bring this to your attention because I just saw it and I was like, I mean, it's what we thought.
That's exactly, and it's what we thought. It's some of that has been reported, so it's gotten out. But that document in particular is exactly Julianne's, her position on this thing, her statement supported by evidence. That's what she's going to testify to as well when she's in the witness chair against Brandon. So good luck with all that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry. I hate her deal. I just hope that the judge, and she seems like a really fair, tough judge. If you watched her during the Depp v. Heard trial, it's the same judge, guys. Penny how do you say her last name? I can't even say it, Azakate or something like that. But yeah,
and we were able to discuss this case with Vinnie Paladin, and it's in there. It's on YouTube on the Court TV page or Vinnie's page. But we do this, and the FetLife woman was on talking about knife play is a very common thing. There's some real interesting folks out there who are into some wild, crazy stuff. And
yeah, a lot of them are upset, Jarrett, the way that this whole thing has been portrayed. I've had people reach out to me being like, hey, can we talk, or can I talk to you about this? Because it's giving the BDSM community a bad look. And I don't judge. Do whatever you want. For all or anyone, I guess, wondering about Joseph Ryan, I read a couple reports that all of his friends say he was very respectful towards women. He was very open about his lifestyle, but he was a respectful man and he would never do anything to anyone who, was not a willing participant.
Well, I look at it this way. I think that FetLife community was used in this deal. They were used as a ruse, and they were used as a conduit to arrange what would have been otherwise a consensual arrangement, not resulting in anybody being hurt or harmed. That was, look, those folks wouldn't condone something like this. It's different. It's a different lifestyle, but the reality is they would not have condoned what happened to Christine Banfield here.
No, never, ever, ever. It's crazy. I can't get over it. And like I said, I feel like the judge will make us proud with Juliana. I'm hoping she gets the max, which I think is 10 years, which still sucks, but better than 1 year time served, which is pretty much.
Somebody who said, I don't always read comments, but I did read some of the comments in the YouTube video from Vinny's video of you and I talking. And I know there was a portion of that show where they were talking about Julianne's deal. And somebody said, hey, but she gets deported at the end of this thing. So whatever she gets, she's out of the country. And people have to understand. I've had defendants who were deported 3 and 4 times. So yeah. I know it sounds great. I know you'll say, hey, there's going to be a break where Julianne's out of the country. She's done. She's no longer a problem, she could come back here quite easily. And she's from Brazil. It's a little bit different situation. So just my thought. I mean, I wouldn't be so quick to say her sentencing is irrelevant because she's going to be deported.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I just wanted to get your reaction and your opinion really quick. So I'm glad we did that. But let's go into a couple of things. I mean, Reed yesterday, I don't even know. I'm a little confused, and I gotta say, like, I follow people on both sides, right? Of who are all for the prosecution, who are all for the defense because they think Karen's innocent. I think she's guilty. And it is interesting how both sides have their own take and their own spin. Even lawyers, Jarrett, lawyers I'm seeing have their own spin and their own take. And I don't know if it's considered a spin, but I guess my conclusion yesterday was that the defense did pay ARCA, but it was 2 weeks after the trial. And they weren't expecting this bill, but of course they paid it because ARCA gave a great witness testimony, and probably, in my opinion, the best one that I saw during that trial. So of course they paid them. And they accused Hank Brennan of misrepresenting all of the facts. And what we saw last week was Judge Cannoni, I guess, hearing all of that and thinking that she really had to give the defense time to think of or prepare what they were going to argue. And she was very, I don't know how to say it, passionate or nervous, because you saw her shaking, and it was kind of a spectacle. It really was. It was a spectacle. And now the defense is saying that all of the headlines in the media are really damaging to their case, and they don't know if they can come back from that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So, well, I think that summary was very good. I mean, essentially, here's the crux of this. Okay?
Thank you so much.
I think so. Just so people understand, there was a discovery request made from the prosecution to the defense. The prosecution, through Brennan, is saying the defense failed to comply with that request by not providing all of the communications with their team, the defense, and ARCA. Okay, that's issue number one. Issue number two is that the defense is, or the prosecution's claiming the defense mischaracterized ARCA as an independent witness. Okay, not their experts in the trial. Okay, that is a big deal if in fact ARCA was their expert. However, ARCA falls into this very rare situation. ARCA was not originally secured by the defense. ARCA was a witness procured during a federal investigation, and they made their conclusions, wrote their report in the looming federal investigation that hung over the Karen Reed trial. Why is that different? Because lawyers have some license with words, okay? Jackson and his team say, and I like what Alessi kept saying, their report was set in cement. Here's what he meant. He meant no matter what communication the defense had with ARCA, their report never changed. The conclusions from the federal investigation were set in cement. We didn't ruse them. We didn't encourage them to advocate for us. This report is exactly as it was made to the federal government. Here's where there was an issue, major document issue. Brennan locates a document that was provided to him by the defense, not the federal government, which he mistakenly said during his argument, that there was an outline. Okay, an outline went, Brennan said an outline went from Jackson and Alessi's team to ARCA. Okay, and the judge kept calling it a script. I would have went crazy. If the judge called it, I would have been, Your Honor, with all due respect, this is not a script.
And
okay,
that was the not dated one, Jarrett, right? The outline was that no date. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So it is not uncommon for experts, that particularly experts that you have not secured or had an occasion to meet with, to exchange an outline of their testimony. First, you're going to qualify me. Then you're going to ask me about my testing. This happens all the time.
Okay.
Brennan characterized that as this communication between them that was never disclosed. It was disclosed. Okay. It was disclosed. Brennan's claim is that it was disclosed 6 days after. The defense says it was disclosed. Here's what all this means. Brennan claims, he says he's not afraid of ARCA. They're welcome to testify here. He claims that Jackson and his team committed a violation, okay, an ethical violation, and a violation of the discovery rule that could justify them being removed from this case. I'm going to tell you something. A week ago, the arguments were strong, and you said it. They started to calm down toward the end a week ago. After Alessi's taking apart of everything Brennan said, he cited the 10, he called them lies or mistakes of Brennan. Mistakes. He called them mistakes. After citing to those, the judge is never going to remove Jackson and his team at this point.
No.
The judge could look at this, and judges don't like this. Like, she's in a tough spot here. This is a case that's being streamed on YouTube, right? In a novel legal issue that you don't deal with every day. She's got a lot of people, a lot of eyes on her. And, you know, and this isn't me feeling sorry for her. That's a high pressure situation too. People have to understand that. She's not throwing Jackson and them out, because it looks to me like Jackson's team handled this right. They did turn it over. They're playing with words. When Jackson says they were independent, when Jackson says their report was not requested by the defense, technically that's true. Lawyers speak that way. It's all technically true.
Well, okay. So I guess I have a couple things here. And I mean, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's where I was at yesterday. I was like, I think I'm understanding this. And it seems like he took that apart and it was a misunderstanding. However, we have Canoni last week, who, I'm not going to say she had a meltdown, right? I'm not going to drag her for that, but it was very dramatic. And she did say, I have grave concerns, which did splash across every headline, Fox News, like just people who don't generally cover this case on a regular basis. Some of, you know, I mean, it was out there. So all of a sudden you have the narrative in the media, on social media, which is a huge part of this case. Couple that with, you know, the sources telling local reporters that the federal investigation was over. You've got this narrative that Karen Reed's defense has completely fallen apart, and that Karen Reed being innocent has completely fallen apart. And I think that might have been part of Hank's goal here. I mean, right? That is what's going on with this case. Both sides are really trying to take apart and dismantle the other side in the media narrative. So I think that's one half. And then the other half is, and Afton said it, I think that they are the best witnesses. They were so credible to me. And clearly, you know, based on Turtle Boy's interview with the juror, maybe not necessarily to that juror, but I think Hank really will do anything to get rid of the ARCA experts. And guess what, Jarrett? I think you're right. Bev is not going to kick Jackson off the case, but she's going to say ARCA can't testify. I bet.
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to be able to testify. I don't even think Brennan's asking for that at this point. I think that's a bridge too far. I think this is a lawyer issue. He
filed a motion about not allowing that.
Now he's walked that back. He's saying he's not afraid of them. So the issue, it's a lawyer issue. It's not an ARCA issue. So I think that would be a mistake. If the judge banned ARCA, here's why it's an overreach. ARCA didn't create this situation. The issues between communications with the defense, the larger issue is Jackson was accused of making a misrepresentation at sidebar to Judge Canoni too, where he said he turned over all the information. He has since said yesterday, one of the only things he said yesterday was that he was referencing another packet of information. Again, a mistake, even if you believe what he's saying, that's a mistake. It's a mistake versus deceit, okay, right, and misconduct. Mm-hmm. Mistakes happen all the time. I make them all the time in court, okay? Mistakes versus misconduct and deceit are two different things. I've been in a situation where something like what Brennan is arguing has come out, and as a member of a team on the other side, you're in no position to defend it. So the media is left to kind of speculate. for the week. But let me tell you something. I don't feel sorry for Jackson getting him beat up in the media for a week. He used to have those press conferences every day after court. He knows how to play the media. I thought they did it. I thought the best thing Alessi did yesterday, okay, which is something I tried to do, and lawyers that do a lot of litigation should always try to do, is take the words of your opponent, twist them, and bury them with them. When he went like that was huge. He talked about particularly the ghosts, the illusions, and the shields, where he's taking Brennan's flowery line. Brennan's a good lawyer too, but here's the risk you take when you are verbose and theatrical. The other side's going to play with that. They're going to say, don't be fooled, judge, by their assessment of this as illusions and ghosts. When Alessi started using those words back on Brennan, I thought it was just dismantling what Brennan said. It's very powerful stuff. And I thought Alessi did a good job on the law. I love how they talk about the judge. We said the judge went back and looked at transcripts. Like this case played out in living color. Go watch the YouTube. You don't have to sit and read the transcripts. It's great.
Well, so we've got questions from people that I want to get to for you. So Afton, you're kind of telling us how you feel now, but she wanted to know what you thought about Alessi's the job he did yesterday in court. It sounds like you thought he did a great job.
I thought it was a little long-winded, but they got beat up for a week. They were accused of misconduct. As a prosecutor, anytime you're ever accused of prosecutorial misconduct, that's a big deal. Like, you're trying to do your job. One thing, somebody says you didn't do something right. When they say you deliberately committed an act of misconduct, them's fighting words. So Alessi came in loaded for bear. He kept saying, I have about 45 more minutes, and he'd go like 2 hours. Or I was trying to watch the whole thing.
Long.
And it was long.
So, this is interesting. I saw another lawyer saying Jackson is guilty of fraud now because of the payment. Is that right, Jarrett? That can't. It was after.
I don't know what that lawyer could be looking at. Here's my understanding of the payment. A bill came for $24,000 in July, long after the trial was done at that point. Mm-hmm. So making that payment, which was unexpected, it came into his office, and making that payment to those folks for their testimony, I don't see how that's fraud. Unless I'm missing a fact, is the fact that he said he didn't make that payment. He wasn't asked about it after July until now. So I don't know where the fraud comes in there. If you're aware of a fact that lawyer was looking at, other than the statement where, and the other thing is he's saying lawyers play on words. Did you pay them for their testimony, or did you pay them for their time? Their testimony remains unchanged from the original federal investigation. Their time and their travel may be worth what you paid for. And again, maybe that's what Jackson was asking. I don't see fraud.
Cannoni said at the beginning it wasn't reimbursement. But let me ask you this. Do you normally pay your experts before or after the trial? Do you work? Because, it's kind of like Alessi said, like, you can't expect us to not speak to someone who's going to testify for us. Like, not at all. We didn't pay them. We didn't, arrange for them to. And there's a public website that shows what the federal government paid ARCA. So, we saw that. But I guess I'm wondering, is that a normal thing where you bill them before, or do you?
Always So typically there are times, unless an expert agrees to be paid after, but typically their invoices come, their retainer agreement, there was a lot of discussion of that, would come, and you would make that payment, because where's the incentive to pay afterwards? Not all lawyers pay their bills, not all professionals pay their bills. So, but the other thing I was thinking too, and this is just a thought, I don't know if anybody else out there, he could have subpoenaed these folks. They were witnesses in this case. They were not his experts. So I wonder what would have happened had Jackson subpoenaed the ARCA people, hauled them into court, because they were material witnesses and not necessarily his expert. You would only have to pay them a day rate or costs of subpoena, things of that nature. So I don't know. I don't know if they could have quashed that subpoena because their testimony was in furtherance of a federal investigation. I'm not sure. But the bottom line here is the manner in which ARCA came to this case and issued their report is unique. And the judge is going to look at that and say, I can't go to the extreme and remove Jackson and his team from this case over that.
I mean, so do you think they kind of, I don't know if I want to say wasted a full day, but like what the hell is the purpose of this if it really was just a misunderstanding? I mean, it's like I'm very confused at why.
Well, I mean, these things happen. Well, look, you know how, like, part of me thinks this could have been a conversation between the parties. Like the defense got ambushed with this, but Brennan's saying this isn't trial by ambush. I need to know. So look, this is litigation theater. I mean, these are the kinds of motions that play out. These are the kind of blows that get exchanged between the sides. I mean, I've sat for days where records got unsealed that shouldn't have been unsealed. Evidence was, allegations regarding evidence, discovery violations. It's just part of our system. And the system as a whole, okay, I know you lose a day or two and things of that nature, but you got to look at this as a complete picture. The goal here is to make sure Karen Reed has a fair trial and John O'Keefe and his family and the state have an equal level playing field too. And sometimes you got to motion the hell out of these cases to get there.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like many lawyers all feel the same way, that this is going to amount to nothing. And it was kind of dramatic, but it is what it is. And this is a good point too. Melinda asked, why didn't they just call ARCA to the stand for this hearing? Wouldn't they be able to say like what went down?
Well, typically for a hearing like this, you're relying on transcripts. You're relying on, it's a discovery. Again, ARCA is almost immaterial. It's whether or not these documents existed. So ARCA could have been called. That may compromise them going forward in the case, but you can do it through oral argument and documentation like they did. It's a little less cumbersome when you do it that way. But that's a great question.
Yeah, no, definitely. And hi, Kirk. Love when Kirk joins.
Kirk agrees with me. See, that's exactly that's great.
No, I'm telling you, I found that many lawyers, defense attorneys, and prosecutors are all kind of like, there's only a handful of lawyers that are like, this is weird. I've never seen this before. And so, I think that.
But I don't disagree with the judges saying she had grave concern. If what Brennan said was true and the federal government originally provided this and all that stuff, I get she'd have concern. And I think every word is being analyzed. She got a lot thrown at her in that hearing from the week before last. So so for her to say she has grave concern, she may have had grave concern. Doesn't mean she's going to take out Jackson, especially when his team clarified it.
She kind of hinted though, like, oh, I'll give you basically like, get your own lawyer here, bitch. That's what I took that as last week.
Well, and I've had cases where defense lawyers had to show up with their own lawyers. I've had cases where judges had to get their own lawyers. Believe me, not fun when parties are showing up.
How would you feel if that was you, I guess, like, in the hot seat last week and all of a sudden this is your client and all of the headlines are super negative because of this. I don't know if I want to say misrepresentation, this misunderstanding. I mean, it just seemed very targeted, I guess. And
right, or biased. I think, well, I'd be
biased.
Disgusted. I mean, I've been there. I mean, I've been there in a position where arguments get made and then you have a break and your side doesn't get the chance to respond. You know what I say in those situations? Stay tuned. Wait till the next round. I haven't had a chance to properly answer. And I'd feel a hell of a lot better if I knew I was acting appropriately or made a mistake instead of an act of misconduct. The first thing I think about when I was accused, or if anybody lobbied an allegation of prosecutorial misconduct at our office, you get concerned. You're like, boy, I hope I did the right thing. And you start to recreate the events in your mind. But then you feel well-footed if you have your documentation, if you did the right thing, if you have that credibility level and reputation with the court, you're going to be able to get through it. It's not pleasant, though. I'm not here to say it's something easy. But look.
And I mean, I get uncomfortable, Jarrett. I mean, maybe it's just me, but when she's like, how many times did you say you don't, it would take 3 seconds for him to finish his sentence and say, what I'm going to do now is go through this. 3 seconds. And she had to be like, you don't have to tell me what you're doing. Just do it. okay, I feel like I mean, come on, just like
Well, I don't know. I think he was doing a
he
lot
was
of
so nice
foreshadowing.
to her, Jarrett. He was kissing her ass. He was so nice to her,
Well,
and she was like,
that's his job. He's in front of her, and she's got a
yeah.
big decision to make about his team. So he better be nice.
No, and he was. I just, she definitely did not reciprocate that, which is fine. It's not her job to be nice. It's no one's. It's you're right. It's his job to be the ass kisser. But I was very uncomfortable when she's like, just get on with it. I'm
I
like, oh my
thought,
God.
well, most courtrooms don't have cameras in them. That's pretty typical. And I thought,
Yeah.
and again, I did not watch this trial as closely as you or many of our viewers, but yesterday I thought Judge Cannoni conducted that proceeding and the one the week before pretty fairly and well. I mean, I don't know. Time will tell with her decision. My prediction, this is a nothing burger.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, you guys better get communicating better. That's what she's going to say.
I agree with you. Nothing burger, but turned into something in the media. And just last thing, this is Rich had said this. I think this is, I don't know, it's a little general, but he just said, Jarrett, during the first trial, Buchanan testified that the ring did not provide activity logs. Is there a way that the defense can verify that it's true that the ring cam did not? I mean, I feel like.
So wait, the question was about O'Keefe's ring cam or the one. So
I believe it would be the ring cam that they said. I'm Rich. Are you referring to the one that was broken by the library, or I'm not sure, but I just wanted to put that out there because he asked, and yeah, that's why I wasn't sure. It's a little general, but yeah, I like I said, I just this case is becoming so tough at this point because after these things happen, these hearings, I do see spins, and I'll call them spins from both sides. Okay, he said, O'Keefe's ring video.
Right. So when Karen Reed came home and when she left, whether or not there was that was
right. Okay, like the timestamps and everything.
Right. So what was the question?
If there's a way to prove that they didn't actually have this. I mean, I don't.
Well, you'd be proving a negative fact. I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel like if a lot of people think that it mysteriously disappeared. I mean, I've heard that. It is weird that some of these really, and that's part of this case. That's part of why I felt that the prosecution didn't meet their burden the first time because of these weird, quote unquote, coincidences. Oh, that footage is missing. The library footage is missing. All of these key time frames that we could have,
This is one important point while I'm thinking about it. Everything Jackson said during the first trial about the ARCA witness, whether or not he could have given them every document, they could have had every document, would still be able to be said in the next trial. And they did have voir dire with the opportunity to examine those witnesses. Everything he said, he could still say, which is important to note. So that's just more to suggest that this is going to be a nothing burger. ARCA will testify. Jackson will be there for trial 2.
And did you see Afton's question? Why is the lack of chain of custody documents not a problem for this court?
I don't, you know what? I'm not as up to speed on that issue. I could tell you chain of custody is important. I don't know why that may or may not be an issue, but I would hope there was no break in the chain of custody.
Yeah, well, there's a lot missing, but I guess, it's to be continued next week. So we'll see. My gosh. I mean, I also saw, I think her team filed a habeas to not have another trial. I mean, I don't think that's going to go very well, but I guess you got to try, right?
Well, you have to. There's some real novel legal issues in this one.
Yeah, agreed. But with Cannoni at the helm, I just don't see any of that happening. Although I do feel like Cannoni would love nothing more than just to be done with this once and for all.
This case, she won't be. Even after the trial, she's going to be doing all the appeal stuff. It's going to hopefully they give her a break on the rest of her list.
Her heavy breathing and sighing is, I mean, we're going to be dealing with that for a long time. But let's go to the Menendez brothers because I wanted to talk to you about this as Nathan Hochman made a statement on Friday. And he was actually, his office was responding to the 2023 habeas petition, which I don't want to say that it's old, right? But like we've kind of been talking about this for a while. And on that petition, there was the letter from their late cousin, Andy Kano. And there was Roy Rosella coming forward with corroborating evidence that he was also abused by Jose Menendez. And Hochman said, nope, this is not evidence for a retrial. But I know that's what they wanted in 2023, but I don't think anybody wants a new trial for the Menendez brothers. They want a resentencing. Like, that's not.
Well, there's a couple different things going on. There's the habeas, which is a fight for a new trial. There's the resentencing, which is that new law we talked about some time ago in California. And there's Governor Newsom's action. So the habeas asks for a couple things. If they're granted a new trial, so when you get this habeas, you're saying this is such an important piece of evidence, the Kano letter and the Rosella statement, that the fact that the jury didn't hear this information in trial one really really results in a bad fact finding, an improper trial, and a new trial has to be had. That's one. They have to ask for that. The second step is it's so egregious and so important and was so detrimental, no new trial can even clean this up. They should be resentenced or let go. Okay. And then I believe a habeas could even go up to Newsom's office for reconsideration again. And I may be conflating the three avenues here. The resentencing thing, all of this comes down to the Kano letter and the Rosella statement. Because in the resentencing, they could say these two pieces of information which support sexual abuse were not provided to the judge prior to sentencing. Look at their current record. Look how they've lived their lives behind bars, and consider this, and they should be resentenced and set free.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely didn't think that, like I said, a new trial was even possible at this point. And I agree with that, maybe, that I don't know if a jury necessarily were to have seen this in the second trial, that their opinions would be changed. I have no idea. Also, because how many people and how many experts weren't allowed to testify in the second trial, based on their defense of being abused. So I have to think, though, Jarrett, that with the resentencing, this should all be, I guess, now, like what they're like now, right? I mean, with their impeccable prison records and how much good they've done in prison and how they are genuinely sorry and how this evidence would just support the fact that maybe it wasn't first-degree murder. I mean, I have to think, like, Hochman is a fair guy, right? He seems like a fair.
Okay, so you're saying it's convenient, it should happen now. That's true, and people that support Team Menendez absolutely feel that way.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean their attorneys closed the door to the option of a habeas too with this information. They have to cover all the bases. So, and if there is some kind of, like, look, you had Gascon and Hochman comes in now. Now the brothers find themselves not only in a prosecution situation problem, they're in a political problem, because Gascon felt strongly, I think, and I'm not just thinking this, I think it's documented, that this case needed a second look, where Hochman was siding with the other camp, saying, he doesn't believe it needs a second look. He doesn't believe that was a legitimate defense. So it's good their lawyers have filed the habeas and are asking for the resentencing and are appealing to Governor Newsom. One thing Kirk said was that Governor Newsom has asked for a risk assessment, which suggests that his decision has been made and he's contemplating a release. So that's somewhat telling, because he's saying, I want a risk assessment, which is what does the world look like if the Menendez brothers are released? What risk do they pose to society? The fact that that's being done would suggest Governor Newsom, if there's no problem in that risk assessment, is prepared to release them. So look, you have to attack on all fronts. The habeas had to be filed. the resentencing request had to be made, and the appeal directly to the governor has to be done too.
Right. Totally. And I guess it's funny because, or it's not funny, but I find myself sometimes having to tell myself that I am not a hypocrite because I do support their release. And, I'm over here kind of just pointing fingers at Luigi Mangione supporters because I'm like, you guys are ridiculous. And I have to tell myself, well, no, there's a huge difference in these two cases.
Huge difference.
Thank you.
Huge.
Thank you. And look, if in 36 years, Luigi Mangione has, had this impeccable prison record and he is doing more good in the world than bad. He understands what he did and how horrible. I mean, then maybe, let's look at his, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm not God. I just want to make sure that I don't come across like a hypocrite because I'm like,
well,
you guys
two things could be true. Two things could be true at once. The Menendez case could deserve a new look and the possible release of the brothers, and Luigi Mangione should go to jail for what he did. That could all be true. And 36 years down the road, we may feel differently.
Right. Right. Totally. Agreed. 100%. I know the Luigi supporters, dude. Many people were with me last Friday downtown where I literally, so after all was said and done, Jarrett, I got home and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have gotten in some of their fit. Like, they are unhinged. They were completely unhinged. I mean, you're talking people who are saying that we should kill more CEOs and taking things out of my hand and
get a job. Tell those people, get a job, get a life, grow up. I mean, come on. Really, that's the world you want to live in.
Oh, and
right?
The people who are on the live, like the one girl that I clipped that said more CEOs should be killed. I was like, so what's your insurance coverage like? Have you had issues? And she's like, no, I'm really well covered. I have great insurance. And I was like,
she's also masked outside.
I'm 5 years. And isn't that so ironic, by the way, that you're kind of out there essentially boycotting big pharma in a way, and yet you're double masked outside 5 years later? Because who told you to? It's just like, what? Are you guys all good? Are you all good?
I could never condone a killing, a cowardice killing like that. No, I just can't. No. Anybody who supports that, think about where this goes in your mind. All bosses? Do we stop at CEOs? Do we go to managers of McDonald's? Do we go to like what? I mean, where does it end?
No, agreed.
Like, what? Are you kidding me?
And the people that were there, like, supported. I mean, and I was like, so wait, you're supporting him, but you don't think he did it, but you support what he did. It was so confusing. And like, this woman, she gave me this death stare for like a minute, and I was like, all right, I don't know what you're talking about, because she just, I think she was trying to relay corporate greed, and that's why she was there. But she starts talking crap about the Starbucks CEO. And I was like, did I miss what this, because last I checked, Starbucks is super liberal and they pander to whatever people want in terms of, so I'm like, what the hell did the Starbucks CEO do? And she was like, it was just not a pleasant situation. I was like,
the best thing you could do with people like that is ask them questions, which is what you were doing, because it reveals, you can't combat them. Ask them questions, dig deep into what's going on here.
Yeah. And to be fair, a handful of them people saw were somewhat respectable, but I just didn't get, like, they'd have one sign about healthcare, and I'm like, oh, that's great. You're just boycotting, healthcare and whatever, corporate greed. And then they flip it around. Free Luigi. Well, you lost me now. Now you lost me because you can't free Luigi. But all right. So then lastly for today, I just want to ask you a couple things about Baldoni versus Lively, because I have to jump off just a little bit early today for another meeting. But Jarrett, this protective order is so strange to me that she wants a stronger protective order because of the world, basically. I mean, what? I don't understand that.
So Blake Lively's asking for a protective order to take the information from the case and contain it into the courtroom, not into the public sector, after she and her team leaked the original complaint that started all of this to the press. Yeah. She set that in motion. I understand Baldoni's team has their website and they're putting everything out there. That is ironic. That is an ironic request. And she's saying victims of abuse shouldn't have their reputations and things of this nature out in the public. I get that. I'm still really hung up on the fact that we're just not seeing evidence of that at this point.
That's correct. And I think I said this the other day. I forget where. Maybe it was with Publicly Buzz with Steve. But all of this harassment that she's getting, it didn't necessarily happen in August when she alleged the smear campaign happened. This all happened after she publicly dropped the lawsuit, leaked it to the press, and Justin Baldoni was dropped by his agency. He was being dragged by people like me. Truly, he was. Was he supposed to sit there and take it and sit there and just have all of this reputational harm done to him? No. He obviously, fired back as he should have, brought forth all of this evidence where we, the people, were able to connect the dots and see the real story here. And that's when and I don't agree with people getting harassed. I really don't. But that is when she started getting dragged in the media. And all of these screenshots in her updated complaint, they're all from February of 2025.
Here's what's really going on here. They didn't like the judge's decision on the gag order.
Right.
And they're asking for, this is a backwards way to get a gag order. So to me, that's what this is about.
Wait, so they want a gag order, but they go on SNL 50 and Ryan makes a joke publicly, but they want a gag order. What do you think about that?
I just think they weren't happy. They want Baldoni's side and his attorneys curtailed. They want them to stop what they're doing because it's working on their end. That's why.
Yeah, totally. Listen, I struggle with this. I really do, because I never want a woman to feel like she can't come forward if she's being harassed. And I never want or person, I shouldn't even say woman. I don't want a person to feel this way. But again, the video of them, like the 8-minute clip, it's so hard to judge how she is feeling internally when we don't necessarily see anything that's super, cringy or red flaggy, because they're supposed to be in love. They're supposed to be, and it's not like he's like licking her. It's not like he's,
right.
It's so weird.
You're not gonna stop the micro management and analysis of this case. You're just not. It's going to continue to go on. They live very public lives. I too feel very strongly, if you are truly a victim, it's unfortunate, but victims are often re-victimized. We do our best to protect victims of sexual assault and rape. However, this is a different deal. Blake Lively is an A-list celebrity. So is her husband. And Baldoni has been elevated by this thing. The fight has become bigger than all parties involved. And welcome to Johnny Depp land, right?
Yeah, totally. And thank you so much, Hawkeyes. You are awesome. We love that you guys are all here. Thank you again. But no, Jarrett, I have a lot of issues with this. And like I said, it's partly because I don't want to say, oh, Blake, you were not harassed. You shouldn't feel like this. But also the whole narrative that she was kind of trying to take over the movie and stuff, you can see it in that clip of them dancing where she's trying to direct him. So that literally to me proves his point even more, where she's like, well, why don't we go like this? Why don't we do this? And he's the director.
Right. We can't ignore the fact that there's hundreds of millions of dollars at stake here. It's not just the movie. It's the sequel. It's the tarnish. She got a little shade for those 2 weeks promoting that movie. And so did he. But I think a lot of that has to do, and we're just talking big bucks here. Their reputations are everything. So they live in a very different world than you and I do. Not real different from your world, but very different from mine, I have to say.
Well, no, I just, like I said, she wasn't, I do feel like things happen in the media and it seems like a big deal at the time. And then 3 days later, we forgot, right? 3 months ago, we're talking about Justin Timberlake and his demise and his DUI. And now nobody cares. We've moved on to how horrible Ryan Reynolds is. In August, when Blake Lively was getting shade for, how she promoted the movie or whatever, it was going to pass. These clips resurfacing, this was all going to pass. I don't think she had to do this. I don't think that it was this crazy reputational damage that she couldn't come back from, but this,
if you're in that situation, if you have an editorial written about you or anything, even like it sucks in the moment, but you have to realize it's going to pass. Like I've been there where you're like, I should respond to this. Come on. Just sometimes you got to like take the air out of it, suck it up and let it pass. And in a smaller vein, this absolutely would have passed. The next great movie they put out, like Deadpool was fantastic. With the Wolverine Deadpool was fantastic. But like the next movie she puts out, you move on. It's like, I just don't. Well,
isn't it? It's so bad. It's so bad. And like, oh my gosh, Kirk always says this. He says I'm Hollywood royalty. Really, Kirk? If I was Hollywood royalty, I mean, would I be in my little home office in front of my microphone? No, I'm just kidding, but I love you. But no,
you're Manhattan royalty, Lauren. That's different.
Thank you. Again, as I was freezing my ass off, shoving my little mic in people's faces. Okay, last thing really quick, because I have to go. But did you see the and like, listen, Jason Scoop, he's an acquaintance of mine. He's a Trump impersonator. He crossed the line bad with Alec Baldwin.
He kept going. And the best is like all the way to the end, he keeps going. And Baldwin, the Baldwin brothers are fighters. And, look that was rough. That was rough. No matter where you fall on the Baldwin situation, he certainly didn't intentionally commit or kill that young woman. It was a horrible accident. Whether it was negligent or reckless is another question that was meted out in the courts. To say you murdered somebody, it was a bridge too far. And he just kept going, like right till the end of that.
Awful. It was awful. And I just think about this because like we do weekend trips with the kids, right? We'll get in and Jared, I'll text you. I'll be like, dude, we're driving back from New Hampshire. It's like, we've been in the car 6 hours, little kids. I have 2 little kids. He has 7 little kids. Okay. So whatever. And so he's getting back in the city. He's unpacking his car. It's such a pain. You just got out. And I'm just like sitting there imagining being Baldwin and having this douche, whatever you want to call him, come up on me like this. And also like, because, I've discussed this. I have some connections to that film. He is destroyed over this. Alec Baldwin's life truly is ruined. Alec Baldwin wishes it was him. He cannot sleep at night. He is destroyed. And I was just disgusted by this display and how some people were like, Alec Baldwin's a murderer. He deserves it. And I'm just like, this is sure, he's not the nicest guy to the media or the press, but I guess sometimes you've had enough. You've had it,
Yeah, that was rough. And he, like I said, and it was just relentless. He just kept going. He didn't let it go till he got him,
No. Yeah, my dad sent that to me and he's like, dude, I'm not saying that like I agree with this. He goes, but his balls are so big. I was like, all right, Dad. Yeah, enough. I don't need to thank you so much. But yes, very, very big. Very, very big for that. But all right, guys, this was great. Jarrett, love ya. We'll have more of this next week. And drop some cases to us. And like I said, we'll try to, give updates on some of the big ones. But yeah.
I definitely will. We have to get on that. So we'll do some of those True Crime Boss solo episodes too. So
yeah, drop some in there, please.
I know, I will.
People want more Jarrett. They're like obsessed.
God bless them.
Jarrett,
you need to meet more people in your life then.
Stop. All right. Nobody puts Jarrett in the corner. I've got my espresso here, my iced coffee here. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll catch you later. Have a good one.
Lauren.
And happy birthday, Sheila.
Happening, you're trying to figure out ultimately what is
It's still a mystery as to why it took them. Hi. Okay.